time now. So let's play hockey.
Hello, welcome to the Let's Play Hockey podcast. This is podcast number 10, I believe. I'm joined here with Brian Bonin, former Hobey Baker Award winner, Mr. Hockey winner in 1992 from White Bear Lake. We're at the Cub Food Studio here with Pull Tab Sports, and this podcast is brought to you by Northern Lids. Northern Lids, specializing in patch-style custom hand-stitched hats. Northern Lids has a great selection of Minnesota hockey hats from youth teams to the pros. If you're looking for custom hats for your team, look no further than Northern Lids. They'll work with you to show off your team colors with pride and give you a final product your whole team is sure to love. Go to www.northernlids.com to check out the styles. You can kind of see here, we just had some Let's Play Hockey hats done in some team colors. They turned out awesome. Can't wait to get them out on our website and, hopefully get them on some heads out there at the arenas. So, today we're going to talk a little bit, we're just going to talk hockey, I think. Brian and I were talking before the podcast here. A lot of movers and shakers in college hockey, and want to just touch on college hockey. They're a couple weeks in now. Denver is 10-0-0. They got some Minnesota kids over there that are doing well. Our Let's Play Hockey Player of the Week this week was Eric Polkamp. He's put up some good numbers. He transferred from Bemidji. He played a year at Bemidji, and now he's in Denver. And, we're seeing that a lot, these kids moving around. Brian, wanted to get your thoughts on that. You played college hockey, but back when you played, you signed on the dotted line. You stuck it out. Whether you played or not, you kind of stayed with your team. That's not the case anymore.
It's not. We've seen a big shift there. You would commit to the college, and the university college would commit back to you. We look at the landscape now, and it's a bit of a free-for-all. I'm not even sure how these kids pick. Which school do you go to? You jump in the portal, and was it a buddy you met in the summer, or because there's never any promises that can be made. Coaches got to be really careful there, and maybe they've made a promise or two, or maybe you just heard it that way. So when you think about our local, University of Minnesota Golden Gophers right now playing really, really well. They had some movers and shakers there this summer. The team's off to a really great start. A lot of balance. If you look at the four lines, how coach, at least how he lays out the lineup before the weekend, I think that would surprise most people. Take a look where he's got players playing, who they're playing with. A lot of adjustments that needed to happen with losing some higher end players too. That's difficult. So hats off to that coaching staff. But you mentioned Denver. I mean, how do you make things work up in Bemidji when you lose a really good player? So hats off to those coaches that have at least started and kept their sanity as we get into the end of November, December.
Well, it's kind of a pro-style league almost now. Everyone's a free agent. We've talked about that before with kids. If they're skating third line, not on the power play, they might say, the hell with it. After this year, I'm looking elsewhere. So from a coaching standpoint, recruiting standpoint, and we even see it in high school, kids moving around quite a bit. We just had a pretty, kids just showing up at captain's practice saying, "Oh, I'm on your team now," which is crazy because we couldn't do that back when we played, and it's just different now. Families will uproot and move. They'll move so their kid can play on a different hockey team, which is, to me, it's crazy. It doesn't make sense to me, but it is what it is. That's kind of the model now. But we talk about, the free agency in college hockey from a recruiting standpoint. Are you going to recruit a kid who switched high school teams and went, what's to say that if he's not happy after year one at your school, to say he's going to, leave? It's got to be tough to coach college hockey right now.
Well, how do you recruit? How do you recruit? Because you're looking for 1 year or 4 years. Touch maybe on that CHL agreement on another pod where we can really dig in deep to say, what is this going to really do for the landscape of college hockey? I was already thinking, do you actually hire somebody right now, get in front of this? hire someone to get up in Canada and start looking? Because why not make a couple introductions, shake some hands, and get some people interested in your program? Because that will be happening quickly, and there'll be a crop of great players there. I guess that's the good thing for the college university programs. Hockey's going to get better. I'm not sure they're going to be excited about that, because you actually will need someone else. There's so many hockey games that are going to need to be covered here. A bit that we see in Minnesota. We have so many teams here in high school. Like, the scouts love it. It's why it's a gem. It's why Minnesota's an absolute gem. They'll find you somewhere. You don't need to leave. The grass isn't always greener. I think we've somewhat had that slant to this pod, and because we don't want to have 4 great associations, high school programs, and everybody else is struggling all the time. We need to keep some rivalries here, and the movement. It's going to cause some challenge, I think, at the high school ranks too, if we can't figure out how to, keep kids committed for 4 years.
Right. High school season started yesterday. Kids hit the ice for the boys. The girls have been going for a week now. Let's talk a little bit about high school hockey. We've talked on this program before how it has gotten a little top heavy, right? Need for, should there be another class? Not everyone should get a trophy, but should everyone, have a chip in a chair at least when the season starts, have a chance. That's probably not the case right now. You're looking at this season coming in, there's teams who are probably setting their team goals, and state tournament is just not on the radar, and that's fine, I guess. But there's teams that literally have less than zero chance. And what happens is we're seeing, some of those programs, their better players are going to where there is a chance. So what does that do? It just creates more weight at the top. And is that good for high school hockey? We've talked about it in the past. I don't know.
Well, as players are considering a move, again, you move over to a great program, it's harder to make those programs and make a difference. So, looking at the landscape of this, I do think they're going to have to strongly look at a third tier, just to provide more opportunity to keep players where they're at. Or maybe so the players don't feel that pressure, or the parents don't feel that pressure. We don't talk enough about the stories where someone makes a move and doesn't play as much as they'd like, or doesn't make the state tournament, if that's your ultimate goal. I would think that would be the ultimate goal here in Minnesota. So exciting to have the season back upon us. I mean, here we are, middle of tryouts, and can you keep your head about you in the sense of we're trying to get ready for those last 3 games in sections. That's what we're playing for. And pretty easy sometimes to put a team on the ice and look and go, yeah, we're not going to make it this year. But we're going to have a ton of fun getting beat 8-0. No, that's not going to happen. So realignment, hopefully that is a more serious conversation, for all the teams that are, getting ready for this run this year. Again, be patient. If I can bring that back to the college hockey, University of Minnesota's lineup, really balanced. People are playing some roles there, and we're only a couple weeks into the season, and those things will change. Coaches aren't trying to lose. They're not trying to, put someone in a bad spot. So, there's a long season ahead of us here. Whether you're down at the local youth association, your child's going to play a role, and they're going to get plenty of ice time. They're going to get a lot of practice time. We do a really good job of that here in Minnesota. So stick with the game plan and make sure your child's having fun, knowing that they're going to just be part of a team, and not everybody can be on the power play or the penalty kill. And especially as we move into that high school level and into college, there's going to be some less ice time doled out to certain players. That's really hard to deal with. So prepare as you're younger to just know that it's about enjoying the game, having some fun, find the right matchups.
We talk a lot about tryouts and trying to make that AA team. And if you don't make that AA team, it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Sometimes it can be counterproductive, being on the AA and being the ninth forward rather than being the top center on the A team or the B team. Take me back, Brian, to your youth hockey experience. Now, when you played, and then obviously you coached youth hockey. What has changed the most, do you think, from then till now? I know coaching has gotten more difficult, right? It's harder to find coaches because I think there's a lot of pressure. You know, you think being a high school coach, obviously there's pressure, right? But even being a BPW or a Bantam, double A Bantam coach, I think it carries a lot of responsibility, but the expectations are they, and I guess it depends on the association, but are the expectations achievable? Is it too much? You know, it's, some people get paid to coach, but mostly it's out of the goodness of their heart, and it's not easy.
It's not easy because I really think winning is just so important today. And second behind that would be your child and their ice time and their development. Sometimes the development, I think, can take a back seat as long as they get some ice time and the team wins. So, it goes down the ladder and then back up the ladder. But it's very hard. The piece of the game that's changed the most for me is the speed. I'm not sure the skill level or the hockey sense has kept up the way that speed has, but speed can kill that so often. So in tryouts or as you get into the season, you need to have speed on your team to just take away the space and time of your opponent. And so really hard to make some decisions now as a coach to put the right combination of players together because we need someone to make a play. You can't just throw the puck around and chase it all the time and give it up and chase it back down. But the speed that comes at you, it's very hard as a coach to process that as you would a squirt or peewee, because the game each year gets a little faster. And so when you and I played, we have no clue how fast this game is. I would say, for coaches that, maybe just quit playing hockey, last 5 years, 10 years, for sure, they still don't. The game is that much quicker, So it's very hard to take that down to a group of players and keep them calm and collected when the game's going the wrong way because you're playing against some really good players or really good teams. So that as a coach is very difficult to manage because you can see this and talk about tryouts for the high school teams. Hey, there's nothing you're going to win right now here in week 1 or week 2. So as a coach, can you take a step back and say, hey, this is a journey. This is a journey. We're just trying to be good those last 3 games in sections. It does not matter what happens, here at the beginning of the season. Can the kids buy into that? Well, they're going to have buy-in at home too. And that's really hard today with parents who, again, they want to see wins. They want to see wins first. They want to see ice time and progression below that. And that's not always what's best for the team.
Well, I do think parents, and I think we've all been guilty of it, is, paying attention to the stat column a little bit too much. There's so much a player can do on the ice that doesn't compute to goals or assists that can help a team win. And I don't think there's enough emphasis on that, or maybe not enough acknowledgement of that. What's your thoughts on plus minus? I think it's an important stat because it does kind of show your defensive play. Obviously, one breakdown from a player that's not your fault could lead to a goal. Now you're -1. But boy, I think the best players are always in the plus column, always. And they might not be a big goal scorer, especially from a defenseman standpoint. Being in the plus column, I think, is an important stat. What are your thoughts on plus minus?
Yeah, I think there's still some value to the statistic as defined, but I think you need an extra column or two there on scoring chances produced, created, and scoring chances against. It was actually my third year pro, Kevin Constantine in Pittsburgh, was doing video. This was before video was actually something I think that anyone really paid attention to. And he was really good, and they paid attention to scoring chances given up and scoring chances created. Instead of you step on the ice for a back check and 3 seconds later they score and you get a minus. So having that extra column and as a coaching staff truly understanding the ebbs and flows of games and how certain individual mistakes can lead to, a team statistic. You got to be a little bit careful with that one. I say that only because I've seen that stat used as a driver. It's not the most truthful stat. It's giving you some tendencies, but if you're playing third and fourth line, it's very hard to be a plus player. It's just very hard because you got to score 5-on-5 all the time, and you're not getting enough ice time, and you're a little bit nervous. So when you're on the first line and you can score 2-3 goals, who cares if you give up 1 or 2? You're still overall at the end of the week you're +2 or +3 each week, and that might not necessarily tell you everything you need to know about that top line, who is the Riverboat Gamblers.
Right. Well, I've seen some stats where even in the NHL, you got guys who score 30, 40 goals, maybe 70 to 80 points, and they're -21. It's like, well, it doesn't help you win games.
No.
Right? Let's go back to youth a little bit. Talk about some development. A lot of youth, we got some tournaments going on now. They're playing games, scrimmages. The season's about to ramp up. We talked a little bit before we came on about, development and practices and being efficient in practice, and what should the focus be, the foundation of a youth hockey team. Winning, development, fun, all the above. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, when it's such a long season, it's easy to forget that when we've cycled it back and we're all so excited about what's to come. You got to set the stage, I think, as a coach. Yeah, you'd like to win some games, but if you want to win games, you got to back that up into some disciplines. And with the game being as fast as it is now, we talked a pod or two ago about the way I used to coach with like kind of 4 main points to what the team and what the players need to be thinking as we try to make this journey and then get into the playoffs, state tournaments, or sections and state tournaments. And it starts with hard work and in defining that. Hard work, like everybody thinks they're working, but how are we going to work really, really hard? That's a skill you have to learn. And it's difficult when you're beating a team 5-0 or if you're losing 5-0. So if you can't put that together as a basis for a season, you're going to have some difficulty, I think, in the end when you're playing a team that you're better than and everybody's a little bit nervous and you're in the sections or you're in regions and all of a sudden things aren't going as well because this game is so darn difficult. That has to be innate. And a lot of times it's like, get out there and work hard. Yeah, if you're having to tell your kids that, you're in trouble. It has to be kind of just part of who you are. And then that's going to carry on into, what I call confidence and courage and discipline and the other things that are going to come. If you don't know how to work, you're going to be guessing or second guessing yourself when you get out for a shift. You're going to be a little nervous. You're going to, well, I don't know, am I going to get outworked or am I going to outwork this guy? That's something that just starts way, way back. So I think when coaches, again, the pressure of winning, can you take your team and just say, hey, let's get some disciplines here. Might be a little boring to start, but we got to figure out, the right pieces of the puzzle here. Who put the right butts in the right seats, so to speak. Mm-hmm. That takes games and mistakes, and people are so impatient now. You want to win, and everybody's feeling better because they're winning. I think you got to be a little more patient sometimes, because as a coach, you don't even know who your team's going to be. It's been a year since you last coached a couple of these returners, and you got a lot of new faces. So let's find the right combinations, over a process. And the only way you do that is actually by making mistakes.
Good point. Going to do a quick ad read here. State 1981. It's a new book called State 1981, Dreams of Dynasty, written by Mark Figner. It documents the great dynasties of the first 35 years of the Minnesota State High School Hockey Tournament. It's written from the unique perspective of the cursed South St. Paul Packers in their 21st tournament appearance as they strive for their first ever championship. It's a fictional retelling of the historic tournament and dives headfirst into the legend-loaded world of the St. Paul Packers dynasty. Of course, South St. Paul's native son, Phil Housley, there's an argument there that he may be the best hockey player to ever come out of Minnesota. maybe that's for a different pod. What do you think? We'll discuss that on a different pod.
I like that. I like that.
Anyway, you can buy State 1981 Dreams of Dynasty on Amazon today. So check that out. Interested to read that book. Anything about the state high school hockey tournament is a worthy read, I think. Let's talk a little bit about the Minnesota model. We talked about a Facebook post that was made that I showed you about. Are we doing enough to develop our hockey players? In our most recent issue here of our October issue of Let's Play Hockey, we call it the College Hockey Hotbed. Minnesota serves as breeding ground for Division I hockey talent. The numbers that we found from College Hockey Inc., who does a great job of compiling all college hockey stats. If you don't know that website, make sure you visit collegehockeyinc.com. The top 10 states for producing Division I talent. Minnesota is number 1, Massachusetts is number 2, New York number 3, Michigan number 4. Now you might think it's close, but as we saw, Brian, it's not close. Minnesota has 249 Division I hockey players this year on 24-25 rosters. Massachusetts is second, a distant second with 117. So that means Minnesota produces twice as many Division I players as any other state. We're doing something right.
We are. We're doing a lot of things right in terms of developing players. It's a numbers game. We're lucky in Minnesota to have great numbers. At the same time, we've got a lot of great, whether it be volunteers or even nowadays the paid coaches or the paid programs outside of the season where kids are getting extra training, just working on their games or hopefully cross-training. But it does point out that Minnesota's doing a really good job here. It's difficult. Everyone's moved a bit in this direction of training all year round. But that's across the United States. That's why you're seeing players from Arizona and California. And so you put in the time and effort, and those players who are natural to the game of hockey, to the hockey sense, or they're just great athletes, are going to benefit from this. So I think we're on the right path of our skill and our player development. There'll be some challenges that come with this over time, I think, because the game's getting more and more expensive, and there's only so much time in a day. So if you want to play other sports or do other things, that is a tough decision to make. This is becoming more and more difficult, I think, for parents. But Minnesota, we're a gem here. We have such a great opportunity in our communities to develop those players and give them an opportunity to play this wonderful game. I guess part of it would be, what is that end game? We keep kind of talking about this. What's the end game? What are you trying to get your child through the game of hockey? Or are you just giving them an experience in hockey to play with their friends and celebrate a bit? All those great lessons. So there's a balance here, but it's certainly not something we need to look at other states and say, wow, they're doing it better, or we should steal these ideas. It's the only way to go. We're doing a pretty good job here.
Well, I think they probably look at us and say, like, dang it, I wish we would have had that foundation, because back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, we built all these community rinks owned by the city, owned by municipalities. In your Massachusetts, New Yorks, Michigans, I'm guessing mostly are privately owned rinks, which makes it a capitalistic venture, which makes it more expensive, which prices a lot of families out of being able to play hockey. And there's probably not enough ice to go around in those communities or those states. That's my guess. I haven't researched it 100%, but our model with the community-based and community-owned rinks, it's not something that other states can do. So they kind of had to go the privatization route, and as we can see, it's just not as good.
It's not. We got to fight for that.
We have to protect it.
We need everybody fighting for that. Yeah, let your local city, county, municipality know that if anything ever comes up, we got to keep these as a resource to the community, to the city. And it is a numbers game. we need, or we would love to expose. I would love to expose this game to as many kids as possible, finding ways to get them on the ice, experience hockey. If you don't have those numbers, you can't produce these college hockey numbers you got here. 249 kids, versus second place is 117. I mean, that's not even close.
Right.
It's all based on those numbers, and you throw everybody into the to the tryouts and to a team, and you develop them, and the cream will rise to the top. If you only got 30 kids that you're going to try to jam through this, starting at age 4 or 6 or whatever that is, that's going to be very difficult. You just don't know who's going to develop, who's not, who's going to have that personality. There's so many aspects of this game or any sport. So those are gems. We got to keep that in mind as we continue to look at other paths and staying at the top or getting better. What's the extra we can do, or what's the extra the association can do. Maybe that has to stay outside the association and outside the regular season here that we're entering.
I think our winters are association hockey. Summers are, your supplemental hockey with your AAAs and your camps and your clinics, and they certainly serve a valuable purpose to the player who wants to develop, get better, and maybe be one of those 249 kids who play Division I hockey. Now, those numbers don't even include Division III. So, there's quite a few Minnesota kids that are playing college hockey. Juniors, ton of kids playing junior hockey, past high school. The great thing about community-based hockey, there's a team for everybody, right? Even when you get some kids, their career ends after Bantams, 15 years old. Maybe they're not going to make the high school team, but then you got junior gold for a lot of teams. Some of these small towns, maybe not, but small town, if you stick it out, you're probably getting a jersey, in high school. You might not play a lot, but you're part of a team. And you talked about end game. And opportunity and experience, I think, as a hockey parent, that was kind of my focus, was just giving them an opportunity to fall in love with the game, and then to have the experience of really going to battle with your buddies, weekend tournaments and the bus rides and all the intangibles that go with playing hockey. Boy, if my kid had an opportunity to play college hockey, I would have been ecstatic. But the fact that he wasn't good enough, I don't care. He had fun. And I talked to him now. He's 23 years old, and he was a really good baseball player. And I said, what was your favorite sport in high school? And without a doubt, Dad, it's hockey. He said, we had so much fun. And we were terrible. We were bad. But that's kind of some of the things that hockey brings. So, opportunity, experience. It's not all about that D1 scholarship or playing at the next level for a lot of people. And I at that same breath, we do want to make sure that we are developing our top kids to create those opportunities for them to move on, for the kids who want to move on. I think Minnesota does a great job. I think it's one of our most precious resources that we have in this state, and we have to hold on to it with a death grip.
We absolutely have to. And yeah, I like your comments there, because in the end of all the teams I've coached and the former players I see around, the ones with the biggest smiles on their faces, it was that opportunity to just play the game. And so to all the parents, we want the best for our kids. Sometimes we want more than they might want in games, activities, or anything in life. And in this game of hockey, it's very difficult to not enjoy the game when done right. And that's too broad maybe, but I'm literally put some skates on, put your equipment on, let's go out and play a game against another team, and we'll have our buddies. And it's really hard to not enjoy this game. We parents and coaches can ruin it quite quickly. You're thinking, if we lose 8-0, it's going to be complete and utter misery, and everybody's not necessarily. No, there's this opportunity to get out and drop the puck and play a game, and well, what the hell? The other team was really good. So what? See you next week. There's something about getting on the ice and competing and being part of a team, and kids just want to play. I've seen so often that an 8-0 loss is better than a 3-2 win when you're shortening a bench and you're not really using your team. That's what's special about hockey. That's why I believe the kids want to play it. Parents want to sign their kids up for it. don't forget that, parents. You might be the one that's ruining the opportunity by putting too much pressure on the kid. Many times, past players I know will say, you just line up a team and tell the players, you guys line yourselves up in order of talent. They'll know how to do it. They're good with their role. As long as you're fair as a coach and fair with ice time, that they're going to be part of the team. I mean, I don't know, shorten the bench in sections, but to get there, you got to give everybody an opportunity. That's when the fourth liner's on the bench, yelling at you, Zolman, get over and go frickin' score a goal for us so we can win, so I can be part of that team. I know my role. Just give me a chance to be part of that. So we parents sometimes have to get out of the way.
Agree 100%. One more ad read here. Chill Boys. The weather's cooling down, but your undercarriage isn't. Trust Chill Boys to keep your boys downstairs cool. Whether you go for bamboo boxers, bamboo boxer briefs, or performance boxers, swamp crotch will never be a problem again. Check out their new fun patterns like golf cap. Level up your undergarment game and experience the chill of lightweight, breathable bamboo fabric today. Grab yourself a pair at chillboys.com and use the code PULLTAB15 for 15% off.
Do we have any samples?
Yeah, can we get a couple samples, Sal?
I got you.
All right.
Fantastic.
One more thing here before we sign off, and our next pod, we're gonna invite strength and conditioning coach Sean Scahan. He used to work for the Minnesota Wild. He's gonna be on our next pod, so make sure you watch for that. We're gonna talk about some in-season training, some off-season training. I think things have changed quite a bit with technology and all that stuff. But I still think the best training, Brian, in the winter, and we talked about it earlier, is outdoor ice. And last winter was mild. We probably didn't have, ice for as long as we wanted. Some communities maybe didn't even flood their rinks. But, we talk about association hockey and doing the extra. It's right there. It's free. Every town has an outdoor rink. Most towns. If my town has one, I'm guessing most towns do. I live in Sauk Center, small town. The importance of outdoor ice. Is there enough encouragement? And I'm going to encourage anyone watching this, if you're a parent, bring your kids to the outdoor rink. They are going to learn so much by whether they're 6 years old or 12 years old. If you're 12 playing against a 15-year-old, if you're 6 playing against 10-year-olds or 10 playing against 6-year-olds, not everyone out there is going to be good, but your skates are on the ice. And that is invaluable. Ice time, we talked about it. The more ice time, the better you're going to get. I mean, it's science, really. The more you skate, the better you're going to get. And it's fun, man. It's fun. Some of the funnest times I had as a kid were screwing around at the outdoor rink.
Well, skill, we talked about those 4 attributes a couple pods back. Skill is puck touches. And when the rest of the world is going to continue to be training all year round, that means they're getting lots of puck touches. So he who has the most, you need to have lots and lots of touches, lots and lots of shots. We'll work on skating in a different area because that's a huge part of the game too. But the skill piece, driveway or shooting mats, but being able to combo that and skate and stick handle, the good old games that keep away. That's the part of the game that's so needed if you're gonna continue this journey, and then you got to love the game. I mean, I think we've talked about this. When you bring kids inside and you're like, okay, now we're gonna run this practice, and here's gonna be the first 3 drills. I think most kids are like, you got to be kidding me, not that crap again. They just want to play.
Right.
So when you love the game, I think you're willing to go inside and listen a little bit to a coach that'll help you, raise your level of play. But it's really hard to love that. I really think it's very difficult to love, a hockey practice. You just want to play a game. So there's got to be something about that. And I think outside rink, the outdoor rinks and breathing in that air, and that's something special. Get your kids out there.
Yeah. And Dad, drop them and go home. You don't need to stay. You don't need to run them through drills.
Yeah. He's got a cell phone.
Don't need to, count how many goals he scores, at the outdoor rink. Drop them off. Go home and clean the garage. Let them have some fun away from coaches, away from parents. All right, that's all we have for today's pod. Again, this pod is brought to you by Northern Lids. Make sure you check out www.northernlids.com. His name is Nick. He does an awesome job. You can see the lids that we have here. He can do team colors, and they're good quality hats. And you can also do knit hats. They're all patch-style hats. Again, www.northernlids.com. Thank you, Brian. Thanks to our producer, Sal, and that fun read we had there. That was interesting. And we will see you next time. Get out to that outdoor rink.
It's time now. So let's play hockey.